I was actually just reading an interview that you did. I did not realize that you studied under Johannes Joransson.
Oh,
Joransson.
yeah. I always still pronounce it wrong myself. I feel like I just, even after studying with him, I will never pronounce it in the Swedish way.
Well,
But yeah, he's great.
I'd actually done I'd actually read something that I had to say his name for, and I had looked at some YouTube videos and like um it was pronounced differently like every time, and I was like, he seemed okay with it, so I was like, well,
Yeah, I think the part I say wrong is the R. Like for some reason when he says it, like the Swedish way of saying it, it's like they have a really soft R
yep, yep.
that isn't for an American, it's just like we're just like like we can't do that.
One of them it was pronounced like really horribly, and then they asked him if that was the right pronunciation, and he just said yes. And I was like, I think he was just trying to keep it going, but I was like, I know that wasn't right, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, I never actually got to take a class with Joyelle, but I did take many with Johannes. So yeah, they're
Yeah. I mean,
quite a
they
power
are.
couple.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Action Books is actually with the shutting down of SPD and everything. Like Action Books is really I've been buying their like I'll buy all their stuff sight unseen that they put out, but yeah, uh, just by doing the work with care and purpose, they seem to kind of um, be doing really well right now, just with everything that's going on, and that speaks to the work that they've done and put out there. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I always think about them when I'm thinking of like presses having kind of a more specific mission because they're so focused on like it's not all they publish, but they're so focused on translation. And I find
Oh
that
yeah, yep,
really interesting and kind of just really beneficial to like the whole community to be able to read more stuff from overseas and everything.
yeah.
So
Well, a lot of stuff that Johannes has written about translation, kind of. I mean, I'm just a Midwesterner that grew up in small town Ohio going to church. So translation would have been so far from anything that I would have even encountered and stuff. But the stuff that he's written about and everything really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And the work they put out is with with giving credit to both the translator and the kind of the way things kind of virally change and stuff. I just find it very interesting, and I don't know if I understand a lot of it, but I think that's part of the point and stuff. So yeah.
yeah, I think in undergrad because not all of us knew a foreign language, of course, he like would have us do like sound translations and stuff,
Mhm.
which was really cool. Like it's just a different approach to translation than I've ever,
Yep.
heard of really. So
Yeah, kind of being there sonically for the moment instead of
instead of
trying to figure out who you are in it. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I
Yep.
find that really interesting.
Hi, Alina. How you doing?
Good. How are you all? I ended up in my bedroom because the house is so chaotically filled with teenagers and um noise. So yeah, so I
Yeah.
escaped a little bit.
Well, yeah. Well, normally there'd be a lot of noise here. My wife is actually not here because she's at a bridal shower for my daughter who's getting married in June and stuff. So
Congratulations.
yeah. So that's why I'm kind of taking June off. We'll start up again in July, but June's kind of all for
Good for
uh,
you.
the pageantry and ridiculousness that
It's exactly what it is. How are you
comes
feeling?
with
Are
that.
you excited? Are you like whatever pat my parents were like whatever pat actually my mom was like you must have a big American pageant. Here in America they do this crazy everyone is Hollywood, she was like that you spend all this money. So she was really disappointed when we did it out in a meadow and made our own made our own wooden thing and camped out there and roasted a pig and had kegs. She was just
Yeah, Yeah, well, it's interesting to me because I mean, I don't know. I don't like. I like my daughter. Like she. I think she's smart, and I think if she's wanting to get married and she has found somebody, I trust her judgment. Um, and but the pageantry is odd because it's like they do suddenly you do suddenly bring a whole bunch of people into your life that weren't there before. Um, and they all have opinions and stuff as well. Um, so trying to please all that and
You
stuff. So
can't.
yeah, and they
It's
also
exhausting.
her and her fiance have both they've done a lot of like traveling and this and that. So they thought they were gonna have a small wedding, but then they realized that they'd made so many like strong connections with other people beyond immediate family that they wanted to include those people, and we were kind of like um whoever's there for you and whatever that's who you should be inviting. Like family is one thing, but there are people that have not taken part in my daughter's life like from the beginning, and I don't know why they would just get an invite because of some weird familial
It's
thing.
always it's
uh,
always that way. The best part of our wedding was that like a whole contingent of Romanians showed up. So, and they didn't bother to speak English because they got to see each other. They hadn't seen each other in a long time. So they were
yeah,
just the loud, crazy, mess that made it feel less like there's like a certain element of perfection that people expect of weddings, of like
yeah,
grace and like emotional grace. And the truth is it's messy.
yeah,
It's a messy, you're bringing together people who, are just totally different. And
yeah. When I feel like we're kind of like with my family, we're kind of like making it messy on accident because um uh like my youngest son, he has a progressive disorder, autoimmune, so we have to be like separate from everybody. So it's kind of funny because we're gonna be there, but like there's a lot of like accommodations being made for us, and we're kind of gonna be like at this separate table and this separate whatever. So it's just kind of funny to me because it's like we kind of ruined it on accident. Not ruined it, like, but we kind of messed it up, which we
Mhm.
would have preferred to do anyway. But we kind of messed it up like on accident by mere fact that if we're gonna be there, there have to be these like adjustments made and stuff. So all of a sudden, it's like we who don't like to be the center of attention and that are suddenly like, oh hey, look, they're over there. So it's gonna be kind of goofy because we'd prefer to get in and get out and say our thing, but it's gonna be like, oh look, they have their own room and they have their own and
You
stuff.
should
So
play with it. Y'all should get like little tags that say VIP, or like you should wear pink berets,
right,
all of
yeah,
you,
yeah.
just to sort of be like, just play it up, we're
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like we're the out,
yeah,
we're the out here.
yeah, yeah,
Have
yeah.
fun with it. Don't worry about it.
So yeah, it should be interesting. But yeah, I'm excited. Absolutely. And um I like the guy, and my opinion doesn't matter. um hey everybody, how you doing? Sorry. So I was gonna give everybody till about 3:05 to get in here. I had a couple messages of people asking for the link and stuff that I don't see quite yet. So just gonna wait till about 3:05, then we'll go ahead and get started.
Bart, at the wedding, I'm just gonna stand in front of your table and just be like, tell everyone to keep moving. Just
All
don't
right.
even bother
Yeah,
them or leave.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I, I was like, you guys should definitely give Noah something to do, because he will keep it moving. That's for sure. That was my brother Noah for everybody uh, who doesn't know. He is actually going to be the DJ at my daughter's wedding. So, all right. So I think we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to the fifth installment of the I Think I Can't Speak for Everyone Here reading series. This is a reading series for writers, people who have written, are writing, or who I think should be writing. Poetry is my way of kind of shortening the sorrow and the terror present in the long hand of this living. But this is a writer space, so people are free to read anything they want for as long as they want or as short as they want. Vignettes, silences, poems, singing, basically anything from that part of you that writes down the world. It's their space. Anyone can duck out at any time, of course, comfort level, life happening, et cetera, et cetera. Whether reading or not, you can turn your camera on or off. Please keep your audio off while people are reading, unless you see me doing something I need to know about. You can definitely unmute and yell at me and whatever. You can also direct message in the chat to sign up for the open mic. If you have any questions afterward, you can email bluejawedsnake@gmail.com. I'll put that in the chat as well. If you need a transcription of the reading afterwards, you can definitely email bluejawedsnake@gmail.com as well. Basically, the how it's going to go is I'll introduce each reader, and they'll go ahead and read. After that, I'm going to have a question for each of them, which I did not tell them about, but I hope they're okay with that. It's nothing too crazy. With that, I will go ahead and introduce our first reader, Alina Stefanescu. Alina Stefanescu was born in Romania and lives in Birmingham, Alabama, with her partner and several intense mammals. Recent books include a creative nonfiction chapbook, Ribald from Bull City Press, and Door, which won the Wandering Angus Press Prize. Her debut fiction collection, Every Mask I Tried On, won the Bright Horse Books Prize. Alina's poems, essays, and fiction can be found in Prairie Schooner, North American Review, World Literature Today, Pleiades, Poetry, Bomb, Crab Creek Review, and others. She serves as editor, reviewer, and critic for various journals and is currently working on a novel like Creature. Her new poetry collection will be published by Saraband in 2025. More online at www.alinastefanonescu.writer.com. I came to Alina's writing first mostly through social media and poems published online, then through her giving and grasping essay collection, Ribald. And since then, I love the way her work kind of does the work of the beforehand and the before life, so that its nowness kind of gives all a space to deprogram worship. And with that, I'm super excited for you to hear her read. I'll go ahead and give her the spotlight and take myself off.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to read. I'm going to read All New Things, and I just have to add that Barton's work has always felt so visceral to me. I love reading his poems, partly because he talks about difficult things, and I think we avoid those things. I think we live in a culture that wants redemption, that wants to know everything is going to be okay, and I feel like poetry can do the work of sometimes telling us that okay is not exactly the way life goes. So I am always grateful for that. And in a manner of not being okay, I'm going to read just stuff that's not published anywhere, stuff that is, I don't know if it's good at all. I have no idea. So I'm going to try it out. And the first is called Tarantella, the music, the dance. So Tarantella from my namesake. You were 10 when you first saw her naked. In the photo her husband took to caress the flesh that turned 40. Before the hardcore of crossed borders and revoked passports and her death stitched into the months before your birth. You are 20 when you tell your boyfriend never to say your name aloud after sunset. When the bushes begin giving instructions, your name is still the unremoved wound, the sound that causes your mother to miss her mother. This is a hora, a dance we can't do without ghosts. You are too many people, and no one is home. A pair fumes alone. your sky for a sideline in that stadium. The vowels follow you like stray beasts on a street whose vocatives are mistaken for eloquence. Playing on this same theme, I guess, my grandmother, who was my namesake, was a village physician, and she was very much loved. But the village was sort of her space, and she brought that to what my mom passed down to me. So this is called "The Baba Goes into the Village to Find Her Missing Dog," and the Baba is the older lady in the village, the ones who sit outside and talk. They kind of keep the stories of the village. And older people aren't quite as disrespected in the village as they are here. There's some value, partly because youth isn't as prized. The Baba goes into the village to find her missing dog. The cocks sleep. The street is quiet as a fallen sequin. The Baba carries a piece of raw meat to greet him. His name echoes back and forth across fences like a lubricious beacon. And she remembers the lurid street lamps who kept lovers alive beneath their eyelids. And she blushed when passing beneath them in the mornings, in the four gleams of dawn, on the meadows before the children were born. There was the shepherd who waited near the willow. Tonight, the stream drowns his name's sound. The man she couldn't marry. The dog she named to keep him nearer. There is no secret in the Baba's furrowed brow. The hammers of the fathers set a glass stone in each mother's eye. The sky is an abattoir for stars. Only the dark can be trusted to savor the day's taste when it dies. I'm trying to decide whether to read a hot mic poem. So I'm going to come back to that thought. Eurydice to Orpheus is the title. But if anyone has a better title for this poem, please let me know. Eurydice to Orpheus. A trumpet blows blue through a window. Tonight, I could turn into the undeveloped photo he took when dawn torched the sky behind the house that burned down across the street. I sat on the stairs to watch it that year when nothing meant knowing and I could be music en route to remembering. Remembering the unsustainable blurring of the thing which was rising against the thing which was crumbling, and no thing touching itself, the way fire will touch itself until it dies. That solid history could disappear while morning snuck in slow ticks, that intimacy could vanish in dust fumes. That single shoe on the sidewalk, like a cello in socks. That kiss too small for what it sought to evidence. This is kind of from the same Eurydice to Orpheus series, or moving in that direction. And the title is from it's a sonnet titled after a lyric from a song by Mark Knopfler called Golden Heart. It's not that popular a song, but it's an old school song. And I was sort of playing with taking lyrics or lines from old songs that had meant a lot when I was younger, and blurring the boundaries between then and now. So it's titled, Then We Swirled Around Each Other and the Thread Was Spun. Tomás Salamun said he melted his walls in the fourth book. Czesław Milosz said the sun set in the seventh. I wore your golden heart around my neck when I left for college. It was my crucifix, a protection against being tempted. If I could have been the gold sun on a horizon, rather than the sheen of gasoline over blacktop at the truck stop, the 7,000 angels and admonitions might have prevented it. I hate having to decide what to read. It's so hard. So another one then, I guess, with Tomás Salamun, who is one of my favorite poets. He's one of those poets that has been translated by many different people, and every different translation really gives you another edge of him, a very edgy poet, a poet who loved to play with words, a poet who wanted to shock, who wanted to make people feel uncomfortable, but also whom a lot of people who knew him describe as a super sweet person. And I think those two things are compatible. So this is with Tomás Salamun, Fidelio on Pont-Neuf, and the first line is from, again, it's from this sonnet series with lines from others. The first line is from a Pont-Neuf poem by Tomás Salamun. And when I lean you up against the wall and look around to memorize the ambivalence of the street lamps, in case I need them to dissolve the dungeon of a song thrown into my head by the hum of a stranger, another man's hat lays claim to it. He says that if I show him the roof with the best vista, my hair will be loose again. He wants to see the whole in swoops, like a boy encountering the mountain he craves, but fears climbing alone. Every boy has a little lens, and I do not leave you against this in the other story. I wear your scent to the bridge and show him the water. The distance down makes it hard to hear the rock go plock. Bachman spoke about a city below. Beckett wrote every hat as a symbol for the call that kept us tethered to birth canals. I kiss you heartily to hide the other me on the bridge. There is something indestructible in the other. His hand clings to mine like a fermata with fingers closed. There's a lot of music and notation in these poems. And how am I doing with time? I'm going to finish, right? How much time do I have left? One more? No? That's not helpful.
Yeah.
I need y'all to tell me what to read. Tell me what,
Yeah.
like, to title everything for me, to just tell me what.
Sure. As long as you want, You're,
That's not,
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
just editing as I read. So you
All right.
can't say that to me. That's not,
All
I'm
right.
not good with
All right.
open-ended.
20 more then. We're good.
Stop it. Okay, one or two more. This one is, again, part of this series of titling after a line. So taking a line in something that is particularly moving and taking not the most popular line, but a line that sort of wants to turn but doesn't turn, but also has traces that lead to other works. So this is from Dante's Paradiso, an A.S. Klein's translation, and the line is, the title, and the line is, and who for my salvation did endure to leave hell in your footprints. A man named George Louis Borges believed Dante dreamed Beatrice in hell to keep her alive. And there is a life, I guess, in being his idol. Take an idol, as eternity's redeeming condition. Place the lover on the plinth to reify her death. A man divines himself in redemption. A God divines his selves in resurrection. The forms surround us. Thus do we meet again on the page in the thing I have written to destroy you. Finality, to analyze you so closely that nothing is left. Or to study each man who represents 12 months in the 24 years of Beatrice's life. To pin skin for each face that returns the loyal gaze of the living. It takes flesh to pledge one's fides, and you have no skin in this game. Only the living can be faithful. This could be this. I could end on a bad note. I mean, I could end on a hot mic poem. I'm going to. I'm just going to. So that I can leave in shame. That's really the best way to leave any stage in utter shame. This is titled after, well, this came from reading a lot of Mahmoud Darwish, and he has this line that just stays with me all the time and touches me now in ways that are horrifying and painful. I feel, I don't know what to say about. It's difficult to ignore our complicity in what is being done to Palestinians. Mahmoud Darwish wrote, "The map is not the answer, and the birth certificate is no longer the same. No one has to face this question as you have, from this moment till you die, or repent, or become a traitor." And this poem is titled, "I Come to You with a Map of the Mausoleum." And that's the epigraph. In every human, there is a fragment that looks fresh when laminated, when labeled and basted and blessed. And blessed be the fools who walk you to your car to ask if you believe in follicular monogamy. For theirs is the paradox of caterpillars, the whir song of winging it, the mysticism of molecular duration. Blessed, too, be the weeks which slough off unscheduled amid shiploads of empty demurrals. Blessed be the shameless nostalgias which sear colors to the tail end of loss, and blessed be the losers who lost feathers in their flagrant obots. For every human hides a crumb of yum inside them. And blessed be those who crouch upon asphalt to name each worm's shadow after the birthstone of a memorable fuck. For theirs is the eros of inflammation. Blessed be the idiots who hunger and thirst simultaneously, seeking radiance in absolute darkness in late afternoon's vicinity. On the surface of the recycled petroleum playground where other mothers divulge their kombucha commitments, in the instantaneity of nearing dusk. The dark parts of the day may yet save us. And bless, therefore, the knees of the infinitely screwed, for they alone know the rhinestone excess of disbelieving their own misfortune inconsolably. And eternally blessed be those who suffer from brontophobia, since theirs is the fear of least statistical significance. Blessed be you, Mahmoud Darwish, for the agony's proximity to reprieve. The stanza breaks to laugh, to weep. In every poem, there is a possible envoy. In every question, a leave. I come to you, edgelords of ecstasy, and implore thee to bless the epic delirium I was at the peak of my bestness, the apparatchik of nothing. Thank you all.
sorry, just taking a moment of silence after that. No leaving in shame. That was blessed. Um, I thank you so much for saying yes. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, from earlier when you were talking about the utterly, I think it all kind of tied together in that, you know, we say babies are cute, the utterly are ugly, but they're the same things. They do the same things. And in that last part about the, you know, there should be that youth in all of us. And it's an equality, and it should be treated as such. I probably went a little too far there, but thanks so much for being here, and thanks for that last reading and for the whole reading. Very, very moving, and thanks for speaking to the moment with the moment. With that, I think we'll move on to our next reader, Dylan Krieger. Dylan is writing The Apocalypse in Real Time in South Louisiana. She is the managing editor of Fine Print and the author of 7 collections of poetry. Giving God Head from Delete 2017, Dreamland Trash from St. Julian 2018, No Ledge Left to Love, Ping Pong 2018, The Motherwort from Vegetarian Alcoholic in 2019, Metamortuary from 9 Mile in 2020, Soft Focus Slaughterhouse from 11/11 in 2021, and their latest Predators Welcome, Limit Zero 2024. You can find her at dylankrieger.com. I came to Dylan's work through their collection of Metamortuary, then moved on to Soft Focus Slaughterhouse and her newest Predators Welcome. What I love about Dylan's work is the way it kind of says yes. It exhausts all permission and says yes. All evidence is allowed, and if the trial disappears, the venue remains the audience. And with that, I'm super excited for you to hear Dylan read. I'll go ahead and give her the spotlight.
All right, everyone can hear me, I hope. All right, well, I'm gonna read a little bit from Predators Welcome today. I think I'm gonna have maybe I'll do like a warm-up poem kind of before I get into it. I'm gonna also read some new work like Alina did. But first of all, just thank you to Barton for having me. And this is a fun little club. I'm glad to be a part of it. And as someone with a pain condition and kind of spoony problems that were showcased in Soft Focus Slaughterhouse primarily, I haven't really written about it otherwise that much. I appreciate any opportunity to read and promote my stuff that doesn't require traveling, because it's sometimes really hard on my body. Okay, so I'm going to start with a memorized one, if that goes okay. I was reminded of this poem by something Alina read, so I'll start off there. Belief in evil. When you believe in evil, steaks don't taste right. Lilacs collapse under the weight of dumbstruck fungus. Little girls still hide like I did from pickup trucks in the park after dark, new crop tops snagged in brambles but half repaired down the block. No one is watching until you don't want it. Then they're everywhere, resowing the flowers and asking what happened. So you say, evil, beware of dog. A bad man is easy to find. And all the aftermath nods knowingly, as if it's normal for escape to feel as narrow as the throat mid-swallow, mid-throw-up. People who believe in evil tend to believe it lives here in the gut, with the rest of the engines we've forgotten how to take apart, parasitic, sick with secrets, past quick fixing. At dusk now, we lock the doors to shut it out, but it doesn't work. I don't believe in evil, and if I did, I have already worn it thin. All right, so I'm going to start the Predators Welcome journey. This book is really about kind of reconceiving human beings as predators. I was doing a lot of thinking about how even our favorite animal companions are also predators, and we have this strong kinship with predators, even though we also condemn that kind of behavior at the same time. For the washable tattoo atop a permanent scar. Whether a fire, cancer, slip of the wrist with a razor in the shower, the only evidence left is a pale sheen of fingerprintless disbelief in skin rebuilt, fine lines flattened into unidentifiable cropland gone fallow, black thumb all through summer, and the soil spits blood back. But look, there is a painted piece of paper that obviously wants to cover the world up, and it's whatever color you want it to be, baby. Golden, lavender, ruby, little fistful of familiar confettiing over a headstone like it's New Year's in hell. To think, the attention, welcome for once, and stuffed with wet petals. When they fall off, we're different. Crystalline coats fully saturated, weighted down with old gods in the pockets to keep from floating away. I wish anyone could say reconstructive and mean it, but they're always sort of smirking. Fine that the stitches stay in, fine that the willows bend over just to fuck us. If not the tumors, contusions, what would we cover in tinsel and expensive juices? These are the landmarks that tell extinction it's moving in the right direction. Unhook the horror from the head wound and be honest. Even the lilies better gilded. All right. This one is called, there are lots of long titles in this book. This one is called Stay Lucid in the Dream Long Enough to Make Out with Your Monsters. Paper roses of prison pinned to my tiny childhood bedroom. I remember when friends looked like cooked flies on mom's windshield, 9 o'clock sharp, nighttime in local county lockup where Mikey's window faced the alley, and somehow beyond logic, we enlisted our parents to be in on it. Back and forth, block to block, the West Side, unkillable small town out of a storybook too shitty to be published. Wishes are the things delicately affixed with scotch tape to the walls of cells, never entered, too scared. But I was there, out back, countless drive-bys, riding shotgun into darkness, headlights off. I read the letters aloud, said yes to the charges, dressed up for a court date before I could vote. We don't even talk now, but I heard hard time happen. I hope it's over, but then again, what do I know? Landlocked civilian propaganda handed down over and over. Don't stay sore for the sake of it. The only maxim that matters in anger, what the flowers were oozing this whole time anyway. Come home one day and find the robin's eggs broke open. And what is there to say about the world about faced, about the screaming turned to laughing, about the change? All right, I'm not going to read super extensively from this, but I think I'm going to read 2 or 3 more. Autopsy reveals lasting marriages mostly composed of sharp metal in a theoretical vacuum. I am a longitudinal experiment in elopement, and the results are what you might call good on paper, as in they're still together, I've never been arrested, listened in class well enough to welcome into my bloodstream the great canonical misogynists of history. What a setback success is. You have to unlearn everything and then keep it hanging around your house like an antibody. It's touch and go with me and weddings. Forget red tinted glasses. Even with a pile of full-blown roses up over my head, my mother comes wandering through sometimes with her 2 black eyes, the kind you might separate over, but not divorce. That's what I absorbed, looming large above the lesson planners about what bad men deserve. When the window shoppers point and huff, embarrassed not by what he's done, but by the gall of this girl to raise her face above the document to show it off. All right. I have, after Barton referenced, well, before the reading really started, referenced being a Midwesterner, I'm going to read my my token Midwestern poem from this book. There's a whole section of this called "If You Were Raised by the Same Wolves I Was." Forgive all my post-it notes. This is how I read from this, and everything else. So this is called If You Were Raised by the Same Wolves I Was, but it's not the only poem called this in the book. If you were raised by the same wolves I was, a strong accent makes you sound like an android by comparison, loose bolts born of television news to mimic men from nowhere. No matter what the wishing well is selling, I can dig through the closets of skeletons and find better for so cheap it's nothing, because coincidentally, as wet flyover trash myself, I am so cheap I'm nothing. And I tell the stranger on the street corner that's what Midwesterners have going for them, the awareness of falling square beneath the boot stomp and not trying to stop it, decorating the tiny dome between heel and toe as their own coastless keepsake, settling in for another snowstorm. To escape is a long con, and we're not fooling anyone, so we stay, perfectly afraid and dew-drenched in our hospital bracelets, standing stock still scarecrow style in never photographed farmland, and the scavengers manage to fly in through our sleeve holes. But little do they imagine we are not even human. Little can their wings fathom the fruit orchard already eaten till barren, the future turned lethal by the skin of its systems, and all the signet rings of lesser gods outstretched. Who wins best kisser? All right, so this is the last poem I'm going to read from Predators Welcome. This is my newest, and it is available both from the publisher Limit Zero and from me. I have a big cartel if you want it. And of course, I'm here for you if you have any questions afterward. This is also called If You Were Raised by the Same Wolves I Was, but given the fact that there's sort of that theme in the book, and I was a Latin minor, I had to have a Rome poem. Men aren't the only ones obsessed with the Roman Empire. If you were raised by the same wolves I was, one of us won't make it out of the city alive, Remus, and the other will survive on borrowed Pascha, missing the ghosts that never bothered to haunt her. What lurks in the forest is none of our business, and yet that's where myth might have left us. Unswaddled little proto-Romans dying of exposure. The question is whether the wolves raised us right, who we might have wound up if petted gentler. But of course there is no answer in the scattering crows, vultures atop Mount Paladine. How high do you have to get to believe me? Conspiracy is what they call it when the tongueless start to speak and the augury of morbid birds still means more. As legend has it, no surrogate parent can protect us from the onslaught, and when they howled out our lullabies, they promised no such thing. Instead, they said to sharpen our new canines on the leather of each other, and as sure as Rome's still standing, some days I wake still in your teeth. All right, so that's Predators Welcome. I do want to try out some new stuff if I have time. I think I'm only 10 minutes in, so I think I can split it halvesies if that works. So these are all brand new. I've been working on a new manuscript, so far kind of only tentatively titled, so I won't say more than that. I'll just dive in. And again, I'm finding all kinds of commonalities with Alina because I know she said the word paradox, and I liked that poem, and I have a paradox poem as well. So I'll start there. Cannibal Sun. Every year, the same sticky cities, shrugged stimulants, enough windows to spend a whole life looking out. Child of the plastic bag, stochastic coin toss, brute miracles of chaos, rigged and unrigged. Like the old myths, I got everything I wanted in exchange for my worthless innocence. But now I kind of miss it. Like an old commercial, the supposed healing powers of Coca-Cola. How we decorated the problem with shredded paper, the color of a shared dream about the sun exploding. Split a sandwich, then the atom, then another sandwich. At the center of everything, a slow devouring pit. Can't look away, can't like it, can't solve for X in any paradox. The contradiction keeps blinking like a lighthouse when I'm trying to sleep. The envelope of fire, full of extinguish. The lake, thick with evaporate. The last time we ever spoke, I was finally beginning to shut up. Before time started, the set of all sets that do not contain themselves was thriving in obliteration. The world was busy learning the taste of its own flesh. I turned to you without my body and pronounced something totally new that you'd forgotten. I put the end of all mouths in my mouthlessness and bit down. I followed the logic of survival long enough to discover I probably shouldn't. I swallowed your eyeball and saw through the fog, the split screen truism of my sticky city next to yours, collecting bird shit, harnessing lightning, spying through third-story skin, the likeness of itself over the river, blinking still, like an ambulance when I'm trying to scream bloody murder over its soliloquy, when I am attempting novel surgery on nightbirds in the void, where I am lonely without my enemy. There you'll be, flashing neon whiplash onto the western wall of my apartment, reattaching me, if only briefly, to the paradox of paradise, the paradox of peace. I know this is a little bit late now, but I have an eclipse poem. I actually wrote it way before I knew there was going to be one. Think of Thea. Consider her vultures, the baby talk of shrapnel planets, worldwide eye roll, before the moon commissioned a single shitty poem about itself. We measured age by pockmarks on the surface of blankness. Now it's all about which edition of the Encyclopedia Britannica you remember best. Soon it will be something else. Pre or post-war bad news, quiet kilo of cocaine. I am fresh out of childhood for you to hibernate inside of. I drained the basement in the last days of clean water. There is no future left to alphabetize, no shared signifier, only the signified, with its irradiated teeth sprouting more teeth. Every time I have that dream, I think of her, ancient stage mom herself, immaculate bitch. Imagine detonating here on purpose, all for the perfect eclipse. And for those who don't know, Thea is supposedly the astral body that created the moon from the earth. So I decided to, instead of writing a poem about the moon, which all poets do, just go one step further. I appreciate how Barton often has poems that mention God, and as someone who was raised really Christian myself, I kind of can't get away from it. So here's another blasphemous God poem. Unreachable creatures. God needs a flesh-tan 90s era country crock vomit bucket to finish creating us. I don't know about evil, but banality is in the eye of the desensitized. Rocket, a word already relished by kindergartners. Even reachable creatures touch war first. Sometimes with bare hands, wet from popcorn butter, suddenly reality. Any empty container smells like stomach acid. Normalize prophetic nausea. Normalize abandoning the standard bucket etiquette. Outside the dives in New Orleans, I puked straight into the street drains. No one expects God here, except as overdubbed branding for catastrophe, a little lagniappe birthday dollar. My lapel stain reeks of human shit. It was all a crock of countries deified by accident. Grief buries itself under 200 overlapping anthems it has to sing behind our backs. All right, I have not read this one ever aloud. And I think after that, I'll just have two more and be done. So these are my last, but I do want to read one more religious one that I've never gotten to read. And it's really, forgive me if it's like not quite cleaned up yet. It's new. The Catholic Church takes it all back. The Council of Nicaea was only kidding. Crusades all staged, hallucinated under thick trance by wet-whiskered monks high on liturgical incense, grasping some Fabergé egg of an ashtray. That is to say, the surface is so deep, no possible Elysium could fit underneath. No possible Plato, no possible priest. Sometimes a solid gold ruby encrusted crucifix is just a solid gold ruby encrusted crucifix. Aesthetic stands for itself, like something said without thinking, after too much wine, in the saint's absence. The papacy jolts awake, raw hangover panic, calls the world to apologize, says, didn't mean it, can't recall, lighten up. The same light once simply let be, once ugly enough without us. All I know about the Catholic afterlife I learned from the 1999 TBS original movie Purgatory with Randy Quaid and Sam Shepard, where the Old West is preserved in amber. Former things no longer pass away. A living fossil walks into a cartoon saloon. By the end of this story, you'd be sorry too. All right, so these are kind of my new favorites that I think I've only read at AWP this year, which was fun. This is called The World Flesh Cures the Infection of Self. I have sold my body to the learning factory. I have seen the face of God casually outside a bar one night and then forgotten it. I have become what some call moth-eaten and others call well-loved, if they're being polite. I have stapled my tongue to the goalpost and nodded off, witnessed the end-of-life Ferris wheel spinning at whiskey's periphery. I heard today someone younger than me killed herself legally in the Netherlands. Chronic fatigue, assisted reckoning. I heard today people like me are at a 10 times higher risk of suicide, and I actually laughed. It's so obvious. So fucking mother removing her own suspicious mole with sterilized blade over the bathroom sink. I have given up Lent, given up resurrection, given up the thing with feathers. I have eloped with myself and no one else. I have given marriage the old college try and then cried over its coffin and then buried my feet where crude oil could reach them at the beach. I have disinterred the corpse just to hold it one more time. I have written and edited and revised and then rewritten the line to fit 9x5. I have organized my life to accommodate the longest possible apology for impending goodbye. I have opened wide for every ladle of human shit and saved it in my throat to vomit all over this precise moment. I have waited so long to tell you. I was lying the entire time. And this one's called Idiot Core. I'll end with this. I know I've been reading really fast to like fit everything I wanted to try out. This one's called Idiot Core. I really as someone who was raised with that kind of talk a lot, like being called an idiot, being called dumb all the time, I have like a real distaste for those kinds of words. So I thought I would try kind of like taking it back in the same way that the internet kind of took it back with the whole smooth-brained phenomenon. I really liked that. So Idiot Core. The Fluke Festival would fall asleep if only the human race would allow it. Out of the maggots, a miracle mutation, the bimboification of luck. Most of us cannot escape this sentence, the velvety mouthfeel of the ask. Liberty is cheap, listed on Amazon, and only a syndicated sitcom away. In the meantime, a mossy patina grows over the hard metallic coin of your blood. The surface salutes itself, refuses forgiveness, gray rock stage 4 superstition. Behold, blank brain, idiot core, naked, tenorless vehicle. A red rose could care less about love. So-called signage, wilted index, absurd exteriority, astonishment all by itself with no explanatory leaflets. The image twists in fickle absence of analysis. Fluke meanings keep collapsing in a cloud of their own asbestos. They're so tired. It's bedtime for the festival. Finally, you'll dream tonight, and an interpretation won't exist. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Dylan. That was amazing. Yeah, I you know, it's interesting when you see things in person and when you're reading on the page. I picked up a lot more like humor than in person than I felt on the page, and that might be kind of a Midwestern thing too. Is that we don't laugh at things on the page, but in person everything's funny. Um, but and that last one too with the idiot and the whatever. I have a lot of like very negative self talk that I do, that I don't realize is impacting the people around me. Um, and I think that's taking back that word idiot would is a worthy endeavor, um, especially if you're calling yourself that. I wrote a whole bunch more notes here too about your reading, but I won't bore everyone with what I thought about that, except that I thought it was amazing. I will say one actually thing I thought I do think uh, absorbing others' surface pain is kind of something you alluded to as well, and I thought that was really awesome. But yeah, I'll go ahead and shut up. And well, actually, I'm not, because then I have a question for both Alina and Dylan real quick. And actually, I had a really long question that I couldn't quite get correctly. It was something about how I think in both of your work, you don't really it's not really like a learning as you go, but there's definitely like a de-learning that's occurring. And I can kind of, when I read it, it's like the de-learning is trying, there's a de-learning that's occurring that's trying to like remain in the present. And I was going to kind of formulate into a question about like how do you all bring peace to your work, because it seems you both live in very intense um moments on the page, but I couldn't get it there. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw all that away, and I'm just gonna ask. I was reading an interview with Dylan where she said that her and her friends come up with fake band names and fake songs for their albums, and I was just going to ask each of you, if you had a band, what would the band name be, or what would the name of your first banger be, or you can ignore the question totally and just recommend a band or a book that you've recently read. I'll go ahead and
Well, if I can go first just really quickly, Alina might have a more real answer, but mine's very jokey. I actually do have like a group of friends, one of whom is on here right now, actually watching, who we talk about fake bands all the time, or fake band names. And we found out, and I mean, maybe people already know this, but like the word disgruntled, that the positive formulation of it really is gruntled, and it means to be like pleased. So it really is the opposite of disgruntled. And I thought that the Gruntlers, if it's not already a band name, is an amazing band name. That's my fake one right now.
Hmm.
well, yeah, that was a perfect that was a perfect answer. Um, and with that, I'll give it over to Alina. Let's see
It's a
if
really
she can
hard
answer.
question.
I know I'm stupid.
No, I don't. I mean,
I'm an idiot per se.
no. It's like it comes up all the time, and it's a comment that whenever I find a cool word, the comment to my kids or to friends is like, there should be a band. We should have a band name. And what's interesting to me about it is why the desire to create a band? Like what is in that longing? Why when we find an interesting phrase or something, the first thought is, I would make, this would be a good band. I think there's something, you were speaking about peace too, in me that remembers when having a band was like this communal thing, kind of like what poetry does. You're risking everything. You probably will go nowhere and cost a ton of money, right? But there's this sort of dream, and it's more of a collective dream than poetry, right? There's something you're creating together that also creates you. And I think that that's what I love about that question, even though I can't answer it because I would have like 25 million different, different things that I would answer, and it would change every second. There's no like one band. But also the Pixies are still really good. I feel like as I've gotten older and I have teenagers, I've come back to them and I've remembered what it was like to be a teenager, and it helps me deal with my teenagers' anger at me and the world, because I'm just like, they're right. We're idiots. The adults are such idiots. Look at them with their hair and their stupid ass houses and their all of this stuff and their therapy and their emotions that they talk like that is while they ruin the world. So I think I'm very much entering my angry teenager phase again. And I really respect it. I feel like there's a good reason to be angry right now. And we silence them because we're scared, you know?
I think also I would want to say about the band name thing that as a writer, like I feel like we do a lot of kind of hierarchies of titles where like you might come up with a title and you're like, well, that's not good enough to be the book title, but it is the poem title. Or maybe this poem title is good enough to like really summarize this whole section, but it's not the whole book. So I feel like those like hierarchies of titles are kind of the same thing when you're talking about like a band versus an album versus a song, where the song could just be like a random one word title, but the band name has to be like way catchier than that and more memorable. And then like the album could even be like a full sentence or something like longer. So I feel like it's engaging with these kinds of conventions of band names, but it's also engaging with like the hierarchy where it's like, this is such a good title. And I feel like that's usually like a writer's instinct. Like, I don't think we always agree on what's like the best title versus like book title versus poem title, but it's just kind of an instinct that we tend to have for like, oh, that would make a good band name because it's like kind of ridiculous in a way. Like it's not as simple as a song title. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone else, but I think we already do that hierarchy with books a little bit.
Yeah, totally agree. I do kind of the same thing with like movie trailers where actually one time Johannes Jorgensen had posted on Twitter about what's with long poem titles and then like 4 lines. And I had responded that it was kind of like when you watch a movie trailer and it's everything that the movie is and better, and then you watch the movie and you're like, I'll just go watch the trailer again. Um, and sometimes I think poem titles can be like that. I probably lost the thread there, but thanks for both your answers and for entertaining um, uh, my wanting to put that out there. Um, with that, I think we'll go ahead and go ahead with the open mic. I think first person we have for the open mic is Deborah Kelly. If I can give you the spotlight here. Oh.
Hi there. Can you hear me? Okay, great. Well, I'm going to read something that's unlike what I usually write, because it's taken up 2 pages, but don't worry, they're narrow, the columns. And this one I wrote I was at a residency writing for a while, and I took some of Valgina Mort's poems and asked them to help me write something new, asked them to teach me something. And this is what came out. The working title right now is First Blow. We'll see where that goes. Not a clap, but a word closed my mouth like a headwind. every gust a synonym, and every word for war. Into every velvet seat, the timpani, as the opera roused, Gotterdamerang. As the opera roused, I stitched myself into a knotted oracle. Into my jacket hood, I hid myself, a frozen rabbit in frozen time, in folded time. Time that fell from walls, from the bell that did not stop. What point in lessons? Grandmother stiffened with starch and time. Grandmother stiffened time if they could iron it to place. They knew to play statue, and grandfathers too played statue as boots marched by. April, April of stunned rabbits. In the websites of 5 newspapers, I gathered and gathered by subscription, as if knight's boots didn't march under orders every night. Clocks and bells. April fell on every velvet seat, and we covered our heads, little grandmothers. We live, little grandmothers, to cover someone's head.
You're on mute.
Oh, was I supposed to go on?
No, you're good. You're good.
Oh,
You're good. It's me. It's totally me.
okay.
This is a new PC and the options are not the same, and I can't figure out. Hold on one sec. Okay, I couldn't figure out how to get. Yeah, sorry about that. Oh, sorry. What? Are you good? I'm not done. What? Oh no, I didn't. Okay. Oh, so my son's name is Noah, and he heard me say Noah, my brother's name as well. So he came out. Oh, apologize for that. Next on the open mic, we have a James Micanachi. I probably butchered that. But I'll go ahead and
That's
give you the
fine.
spotlight if I.
Everyone butchers it.
All right.
Okay. I always do the same thing where I choose a poem to read and then I come to the open mic and then I think, oh no, maybe something, but anyway, I'm going to go with something. I'm English, as you may have gathered, and I'm here in Spain, in the kind of middle of nowhere. Okay, let me find the one I had. Excuse me. Okay, this is very short and not particularly sweet. The Gentleman Callers. Can you hear me okay? The Gentleman Callers. One of those towns just off the long road south, that pitiless plain it barely rose above. 3 cypress trees, and not much more, where once the men, mouths pocked with holy nails, came shouting round the door, un paseo por la maestra roja. Father's touring car ticking over in the square, a pistol, pregnant with belief, out by the hair. Slumped, shoeless in the front, 2 house calls more. They rumble up the barren hill, 3 green trees to paint the sky, the number of the morning's loss. Todo por la patria y Dios. So, I'll mute myself, yeah?
Yeah, you can mute yourself. That's fine. Thanks, James. It's probably McConaughey. I apologize. I did look it up beforehand and then still said it incorrectly. But thank you so much for that. I love the 3 green trees and all that. And next on the open mic, we have Ashley New.
Oh, sorry, there's a placeholder last name that I've given myself there. That's Ashley Mounts. Yeah, I am also English, as you might notice, this dreadful cursed island that it is, that I am sadly still occupying. Um, in any case, I was going to read something quite short, and I thought it was quite coincidental. I just wanted to mention the moth-eaten phrase earlier. This piece is called Mothwing Sugar. Okay. Today I'll treat myself to duster cloths for all the corner cases and fine crags wherein I'll find the burnet undermoths. Their scale wings beat low, short, and whisper thin, a soft thrum plastered over final drags as we each carved an interstitial spin. Tomorrow will become the note we made, the one that hums itself a rote resolve or binarizes in a bin bag trade before the table clap's acute degree collapses. Round that roomful we revolve to mulch and satisfy, we must agree. An abdicated lack begets the lacked. Just as the shaded moths still have their thrust, there is a reinstantiation stacked and played in jocund images through dust. Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks, Ashley. Short but continual. After images, no small thing. And I think unless I missed somebody, and you can definitely unmute if you'd like, but I think we have one more for the open mic, and that would be a Noah Smock, who I will give the spotlight.
Well, thanks for this opportunity. I have never published anything, so this is definitely not found anywhere. Very short. I'm working on a thing that has an audio component, so getting a chance to say this out loud in front of real people and not my bedroom walls is an opportunity to learn and grow. So it's from a piece that I'm working on called No Arrival, and it all just has just very broad categories like cars, and this falls under the broad category of women. August 2017, I went to Houston in the wake of Hurricane Harvey, stayed in a cheap ass hotel with watermarks on the wall and free bagels from nowhere in the lobby every morning. Rented the last truck in the whole city, I was told. 6 lanes of traffic, both ways, every way, every highway, one truck left. Hurricane strange math. I worked lights out, tired, sweating every day, getting tools out for disaster relief in a huge warehouse. I assembled shelving blocks and loaded them onto forklifts to stack 20 feet high. They would house donated tools, some of which were just a dump of dead inventory so some company could claim they helped when they actually hurt. Thank you for giving away everything you did not want. We gave it to poor people and they fucking wept and kissed the ground they thought you maybe walked on. The work was go, go, go. I'd put in 10 hours and sprawl in the hotel bed at the tragedy of limbs, wake up to forget where and even who I was for a 10-second eternity. I went to this one bar in Upper Kirby every night for food and quiet to myself laughter and watching other humans, those eat and drink gorillas. The second night I was there, a woman came up to me and she said she'd seen me last night and that she was sorry, that she didn't come talk to me, but it was her friend's birthday and he liked her and she didn't want to hurt his feelings. I didn't know anything about that and said as much. And she said, "Can I play you a song on the jukebox?" Well, I'd been talking to the bartender all night about music and she weighed in and she said, "Play him a Radiohead song." And the small fading beauty of a woman played the song Radiohead by the Talking Heads, which was so perfectly wrong and not the point, off the mark, a little funny, a little sad. And she tried to dance and got sadder to me. And I wasn't about to be a person in this local scene that I accidentally stepped into without wanting to leave any footprints. Good luck dancing to that song, like trying not to touch your fingertips.
Thanks, Noah. Thanks for that. And with that, I think I'll go ahead and let everybody get out of here. And in Noah's words, to dead inventory, and the like. I think we'll go ahead and get out of here. And thanks y'all for being here, and thanks to the readers for saying yes. and we'll be back in July. And I might ask people here or the same readers at some point to feature again. So stay tuned, and thanks again. We'll go ahead and end the meeting for everyone here. Thanks a lot. Love y'all.
Hey, thank you.
Sure.
Beautiful.